A year ago, M.L. Smoker and I were named Montana Poets Laureate by Governor Stephen Bullock. I cannot express how honored I am to share this role with Mandy, whose poetry I have always admired and who is a cherished friend. It's been quite a year. Last October, we were dancing to salsa music in Billings with U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo and attending her spectacular reading. We read poetry together at the Women's March in Helena, along with many strong women activists taking a stand against sexism, racism, and other forms of oppression. At an invitation from the Missoula Art Museum, we viewed their contemporary American Indian art collection and created poems in response to Molly Murphy Adams' map of missing and murdered Indigenous women. We visited a number of small local communities and shared our work and our faith in poetry. Like you, we had lots of future plans. And then the pandemic struck. All of our events were canceled. Like many parents, Mandy struggled with homeschooling and the demands of a full-time job. I flew back and forth fearfully and somewhat dangerously to Florida when my mother was suddenly bedridden. I know that families across Montana, as well as the nation, are dealing with these kinds of struggles and even more. At the same time, a lot of us feel charged with finding ways to fight for human rights and environmental justice in the face of newly stoked violence and divisiveness. How can we live without the unknown in front of us, writes Renee Shar, one of my favorite poets. We learn by going where we have to go, says another. Mandy and I believe poetry is a necessary, a crucial medicine for these times because it is the language of the heart, of feeling, of connection between one's life and another's. We will continue to find ways to advocate for poetry under these new conditions. Perhaps you can too. Reconnect with your favorite poems. Search for new ones, especially poems by people who are different from you. Share them with your family, your friends. Ask them to share theirs. Read them to your children. Write a poem and dare to read it to someone you trust. Even read it in public. Share it online. Bring it to protests. Share your vulnerability, your humanity, your love of beauty. In doing so, we will be engaging a powerful, untamable form of healing and a force for good. Greetings. I'm standing in the garden I share with my partner, Briar Herrick, in Basin, Montana, a small mountain town almost atop the Continental Divide. I'm going to read a poem called Icelandic Poppies. These are Icelandic poppies. They have this beautiful color and inside purple splotches, 4 of them. This poem was written for my friend Ed Gilbert, who passed away this summer. I'd like to dedicate this reading to him. He came to visit me in Montana with a new love, probably about 10 years ago, and they were so extravagant in their new love, and the poppies were blooming at the same time, and somehow that correspondence generated this poem. Icelandic Poppies. All summer the poppies held sway in my kitchen garden, magisterial and tall, a smear of melon. They were rare birds I tamed, their 4 tongues spread wide, each tongue stroked with a brush of violet. They were so fragile that they would shake in my hands. My friend came to visit with his black hair dyed yellow. He was bronze and wrapped in an orange beach towel, his lover David in dark blue. They were flowers too, and I adored their adorations of each other, how they leaned, kissed poolside, as if magnetized by the sun. Now, one by one, in the shallow rains of late September, the poppies close. Eventually, they will shatter. I find their scraps still fresh, caught on their own gray-green leaves, or brutalized, pressed by rain into the mud. It is like finding on the footpath the body of a tanager or the bruised peel of nectarine. After the dross of beauty, what? Seed heads, frost blue and shaped like Byzantine cupolas, are rising above the curling, mothy leaves. The holy kingdom sways in the wind as the petals did. Its domes are bald and blind and capped with green stars. My friends who were in love have gone back to their separate cities. They say the summer was an illusion due to the narcotic of lust. But wait, I call after them, to have been drowsed with the fume of poppies, to have been wrapped, induced, to have been red chiffon. Today I'm standing in Hellgate Canyon outside of Helena, Montana. Some of the walls here are painted with pictographs made over 1,000 years ago by many different people. And Scott Momaday wrote, "If you would learn the earth as it really is, learn it through its sacred places." This poem is called Pictograph, Possible Shield-Bearing Figure. To the phrase, "We mean you no harm," I have added, "We wish you well." How the day trims the night with blue trade cloth, how the night offers long-distance bells, and the winemakers appear to mix the waters. Lately, the rivers have begun to talk in their loudspeaker voices as if projected, as if they were speaking from a crack that opened deep inside the cliff, as if they were placed there like a feather in a book. Yesterday, I had one of the old days. As they say, my solitude was extended. An implied but undepicted ground line, an abstract foothills tradition. The sound of rivers can lead me back there to what I am being carried along to find. Their lives, this one, a kind of drowning. Imagine it's summer. The rock shelter is dry, scraper churned, sure of insects in the fescue. The earth alive in ways I am not, dead in ways beyond my reckoning. The Cottonwood people. Faint, uncombed, awash in rain. They share the kind of beauty shared by older women. Rhapsody in wind, buds, not leaves, the small greens crowding up behind them. Music, if one could see it, its wicker, its cursive strain. Spruce, which has the heavier sails flapping. You are everything you feel beside the river. Through the silver-paned bark, the diamond pores of sloughed-off skin. If I saw my soul, she would be this tree, and I would love her. Placing stops between the strings, a composer warps the score, though making noise is never the intention. One can draw anything on paper and ask a musician to play it. For instance, a violinist known for her sheer nerves. It is good to be cold, to remember cold. Hushed by rain, to be ordained in a dry place. Suppleness of the word posture. By the time my friend received the diagnosis, she was no longer prepared to accept it. An after image shot with stores of pollen.
Heart Butte, Montana. The unsympathetic wind, how she has evaded me for years now, leaving a guileless shell and no way to navigate. Once when I stood on a plateau of earth just at the moment before the dangerous jutting peaks converged upon the lilting sway of grasslands, I almost found a way back. There, the sky, quite possibly all the elements, caused the rock and soil and vegetation to congregate. Their prayer was not new, and so faint I could hardly discern. simple remembrances, like a tiny syncopated chorus calling everyone home, across 1,000 eastward miles, and what little wind was left at my back. But I could not move, and then the music was gone. All that was left were the springtime faces of mountains gazing down, their last patches of snow luminous. I dreamed of becoming snowmelt, gliding down the slope and into the valley, with the promise and assurance that there is always a way to become bird, tree, water again. We are the ones for Desmond, waiting, a syllable forming, generating energy in small, dark masses, marrow, stem cell, neuron, waiting to come alive again in this tiny body. Guwa, you should learn this word between you and I, my son, Hokshina. Come here, come home, to this place, between you and I, no separation, but always room and silence until we can find meaning and the words together. I repeat it again and again, gesturing for you to come over, hoping the vibrations will come alive. You will listen inside yourself, and you will sense just who you are, who you belong to and among. As if you were underwater and could feel the pulse, the whir and swish of your blood traveling miles and miles. Across the wind-blown graves of your great-grandparents and their grandparents. Mikushi, Mitugash, yours, and they are out there, belonging to you before you were even born, waiting. Book of the Missing, Murdered, and Indigenous, Chapter 1, for Natalie Smoker. The winding cord of highways, unkempt gravel roads, and the trails of animals. A record of who and what has passed over, an agony of secrets. In the end, they have all borne witness, eyes like glass beads that can never blink. The dull light of motel neon shines ominously. An engine growls across the landscape. Brittle men who are splintered like glass thrown from a second-story window, and we are the room they leave behind. They are pathetic husks, feeble in spirit. Fragments fall along the fields and shallow ditches, in overlooked alleyways or underpasses. A cold, empty breeze rising from the debris, the first and last moment of her. It is rage that pulls her up from this place. She spews out the wretched and miserable as particles of dawn-lit soil illuminate her skin. Her hair is a two-edged sword. She stitches together the collective story of origin, her body a map descended from the stars, on the backs of animal sisters, carried to safety in a bird's beak. Equilibrium, in memory of Eric Levi Bigleggins. 1. After child after child after child, no one believes in the cacophony of sirens anymore. If only we could break back these bones and form a new ceremony from each of our losses. Oh, mend our teeth from another dark stretch of road, our rugged knuckles from another first of the month. 2. And still the children keep jumping from trains. The people in town dream anxiously, fire and iron licking at the corners of old handmade quilts. They have forgotten the language of antelope and crickbed, find in its place only one way to say, we are not responsible. Today one man woke to the callous offering of a bird's beak and black wing left on his doorstep at daybreak. And what of all the other warnings, of all the family lost because their hearts were too heavy for them to carry? If we could put these omens away down in the basement, the door could be locked, the mutter of crows left there to decay. 3. Next time, and it will be the dance of chairs and imaginary high-speed chases. It will require a fine sense of balance and a song of stars. Just the slightest slip of the rope, and the sky will be set loose, the body like a shift in the river's current. 4. The bridge can hold, the body cannot, and our excuses will do nothing to save us now. We survive between these barbed wire fabrications. We gather together in the middle of the night, call out the names of lost cousins and friends who cannot cross over to the other side because we keep praying them back. We ask so much of them. Slow the car down, don't jump, don't let go, come back to us. But what are we really guilty of? The blood memory of what we can't forgive ourselves for. Hollowed out grief becomes electric, loosens 1,000 storm patterns in the marrow of ghost homes, ghost children, ghost love. Poetry has meant a great deal in both Melissa and I's lives. It helped me personally, has helped me to seek new understandings and continually pay attention to the details of life. It helped me through one of the most difficult times when I lost my mother at 23. During that grieving process, poetry really became a lifeline. It was a safe place where I could go and express my feelings and really understand my despair. And so often now, I, like probably many others, find myself in despair again. An array of emotions, anger, frustration, fear, but also purpose. Purpose is the blank page on which we can reclaim, retell, rebuild, and heal. We must do this work, advocating, voting, challenging the status quo, fighting racism and injustice at every turn, using our voices, our pens, our keyboard to be a part of that work. So to this cherished community, to you all, everyone who loves literature, to our poetry family, everyone who joined Melissa and I today, we say, please use your gifts, your abilities, your resources, and your tools to be a part of the greater purpose. We must all hold ourselves, our community, accountable and fight like hell for what's right and dismantle systemic racism. We are grateful for the opportunity for this opportunity to the Montana Festival of the Book, to Lauren Korn, and to all of you for joining us today. Thank you.